Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another powerful episode of Behind the Pen, where we go deeper than the pages and bring you the stories behind the authors who are writing to change the world. Tonight's topic is one many people encounter, but few are prepared to navigate the legal system. Our special guest is a devoted mother, a fierce advocate, and now a published author with a mission to empower others to fight for fairness, for truth, and for themselves. Her book, Empowering Pro Se Litigants, equips individuals to confidently and knowledgeably navigate the legal process when they may be representing themselves. So, if you could please help me welcome Ms. Towanda Brown.
Hello. Thank you, Lakeisha.
Good evening. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you are here on the podcast tonight. And we're just going to jump right in. We don't do any fancy bios or introductions. We just get into it. So, for those who are meeting you for the first time, tell us who you are behind the pen and behind this passion and fire that you have.
Well, my name is Towanda Brown. I am a mother of two boys, 37 and 26. I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, back in the days when they were busing us to integrate schools in Bowie, Maryland. So I did that in third grade. So my life starting out was in a neighborhood with majority Black folks, because that's what it was back in those days. And then I went to a majority white school called Chapel Forge Elementary. And there is the very first time that I really experienced my mom advocating for me. And so I am an advocate because my mother was an advocate. And what I try and explain to people regarding advocacy, at me being in third grade, I remember that they wanted me to put me in special education class because I spoke with a lisp. And my mother was like, absolutely not. And so she really fought for that, for me not to do that. And I was put in GT classes from that point forward. And what that really showed me is that if you don't acquiesce to someone trying to do something that you know is not quite right, then you fight and you stand against it. And so I have been a member of a organization called the Council of Elders of the Black Community of Howard County. I'm currently the chair of that organization. I've been a member for over 18 years. I am also on the private side a line dancer, a hand dancer. I like to travel. So I try and keep everything well balanced so I can live my life in a way where I can soon retire. That's the goal.
And that is a great goal to have. A great goal to have. So, your inspiration from the book came from a personal legal battle with a former employer. Um, what did you experience? Not to give it all away, but how? What kind of sparked? Um, what was the thing that promoted you to say people need to know this? I should write about this.
Oh boy, it was an experience that was very painful. So I have worked for this company for over 7 years, and I have helped to grow the business for this company. And a lot of us experience this where we grow the business and then they try and slide people in to take your spot. Well, what happened in this situation, they tried to slide someone in who happened to be a white male, and I was not having it because I was over the project and there were things that he was supposed to do that he was not accomplishing. So when I escalated to my management, because he was in good with the management, they turned the tables on me and said that I was aggressive and I was being controversial and all these other things. So we parted ways right before COVID, March 2020.
Wow. So I know that you mentioned this experience was unexpected and worse than you could have ever imagined. Like what as you were let go and started this process, what kind of surprised you the most about this process?
The blatant deceitfulness. So, my mother used to be an EEOC officer. So she was well versed in that kind of thing in the federal government. My sister and my nieces are HR directors. So they're on the other side, So a lot of people don't realize, and I mentioned it in my book, even though HR tries to befriend you, they work for the employer, right? So there's only going to be but so much that they're going to do to throw the employer under the bus and come to your side. So I had documentation, Lakeisha. When I tell you, the attorney even said to me, "What made you keep this?" I said, "Oh, my mother taught me well. My
Right.
godmother taught me well that if it isn't written, it didn't happen." You know how things mysteriously disappear
Hmm.
when you want that to happen. But even though I had in writing the things that they said to me, they denied it. And it was in black and white,
Yeah.
right? I had something where I tried to help make sure that we were recruiting employees from HBCUs. So I was part of the career, going out and bringing people in. And when they were going to primary white institutes, and I say, "Hey, what about this school here? We got great people that come from there." And they was like, "Oh, we decided not to invest our money there." And I was like, but don't we talk about equal opportunity? You know? And
Right.
so I was told by the HR director, it's the money of the owner. And if you don't like it, you can get off the committee. So, what happens, in my opinion, is a lot of times we just let things go. And instead of dealing and asking questions and making them uncomfortable, we just go ahead and we absorb it all, ended up causing all kind of diseases in us because you hold that stuff in, it turns into a whole lot of things
Right.
instead of speaking up and making them a little bit uncomfortable. So that was kind of the start of that. But when you have documentation that says what somebody says in their own words, and they sit when you're in an interrogatory doing an interview and they say something totally different, it was unbelievable to me. I have a quote in the book that talks about a friend of mine saying, "T, you are gray," because all of the blood, I had just come from interrogatories. I had nothing left. Every bit of blood drained out of my body because I could not believe how deceitful they were. And on top of that, so here I am calling the attorney general. I know that they're not going to accept people that are committing perjury. They said to me, "You know how many people commit perjury? This is just a small, your little thing is a small drop in the bucket." I was like, wow. So I
Hmm.
think I was totally disenfranchised about the legal system. That they really are for holding people accountable for doing the right thing, the legal thing, and it is not true at all. You know, I wasn't totally shocked about HR because I had it in my family, but I was a little bit shocked about when she came and had lunch with me and she said, "Towanda, this is totally off the record. I want to see how you're doing, how you're feeling," just to have it come back up when we had the interrogatories. So this book is for really people to understand what I discovered. Make sure you know what people's roles are. Make sure you have your documentation. Make sure you're not operating off of emotion. And make sure you think about the cost it's going to take for you to follow through.
Absolutely. And advocacy and like standing up for yourself is key. So key. Now a lot of people hear pro se and they feel fear. Like the idea of facing the legal system alone, alone. How does your book kind of calm that fear and like empower a confidence for anybody pursuing a process like you did?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. So a lot of people asked what pro se even means. And pro se means that you are representing yourself without an attorney. The reason I wanted this book to be written is because I wanted you to know what to expect. I call it like a recipe book. I'm going to tell you about the entire process, including at the very beginning when you have to get a right to sue letter. And even when my employer got a right to sue letter, they were celebrating, ooh, EEOC didn't say that we were wrong. But EEOC didn't say you were right. They said there was no conclusion, right? So, first thing you do is once you have that letter, what I'm telling you in the book is what you're going to need to know when you're going through the entire process. So, when you do your process with EEOC, I do suggest that you have an attorney. And the reason I suggest that is because that is the first hurdle you have to cross. But when you have that attorney, make sure you have looked through that book regarding the questions you need to ask them before you get that right to sue letter. Because once you file your paperwork saying that you are going to proceed as a pro se litigant, if you do any consultation with a lawyer, they're going to try and say you're misrepresenting the court to the court and you're really not pro se. So I'm going to tell you about what to expect in terms of them trying to get your case thrown out. They tried it twice with me. One of which was, what she's writing is so good, she couldn't be writing it by herself, which I called a backhanded compliment, right? It's
Right.
like, are you giving me a compliment without really giving me one? So, and the other was just to try and dismiss it on merit. Well, clearly EEOC said there's something there, or else they wouldn't have given me the right to sue letter. So, one of the other things that I want to make sure is you understand the personal drain.
Yeah.
Um, I mentioned to people at my book signing yesterday, a lot of people don't know that I saw a psychologist
Mm.
because when I tell you that somebody continuing to sit and lie about what it is that they did, when you got proof here, and you like, I'm not crazy. I know what happened. But a lot of times we don't want to reach out when we are overwhelmed, because, especially us in our community, have a tendency to think that when we reach out, it's saying something about ourselves. But sometimes we need the help. So I need people to understand that there is a diagram in the book that's like a roadmap. And it says, even once you start the journey of being a pro se litigant, if you decide to take an exit ramp, it's okay. Because when you're in that thing and you're feeling yourself having to go and read other legal cases of what people have done, when you are hearing a lot of your friends and family members saying, why are you doing this? Because they see that things are happening to you and that you're miserable and you're upset and all these things, and they just want to protect you, right? But you got to be ready for that. And you got to know within yourself that this is something that you want to do. So, another thing that I did when I was going through this journey, I created a motto called Unchecked Spirits Get Stronger. Because, Lakeisha, I had to look at myself. I had a lot of doubts within myself of what I could and could not do. And so if you give an inch to anybody coming in and undermining you, it opens up a whole world of doubt within yourself. So I had to take a step back. I had to talk with my psychologist. I had to say, look, help me make sure I'm not crazy. So every time they came at me saying things, oh, that's not what really happened to Wanda. This is what happened. No, 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 no. That's not what happened. I'm quite clear. Here's the documentation in case you didn't know. Um, and so it is going to help people not be surprised like I was. And I tell people all the time, I wish I had watched the TV series Suits prior to my case because it shows how scrupulous they are. And not only that, it shows that the prosecutors and the defense run in the same circles.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you got me on that one. Good job. Instead of you thinking, oh, you in there fighting for me. And it's like, we going to see who wins on this competition because we done this dance before. I was shocked. The other thing I will say, I did all that other stuff myself, right? I looked up the cases. I wrote a format for the response that they had never seen before because I'm an analyst by trade. I took their questions. I took the answer and gave an answer, and I gave the receipt that went along with it. Paid so and so. Here's the documentation. So instead of me being on the defensive all the time, I went on the offensive. They had to defend what it is that I showed was proof of what it is that they did. But I rested on my loins when I got the mediation. And the judge said to me, the magistrate, hey, I would like to get somebody to help you pro bono to understand the mediation process. When they give you something, you got somebody right there. What do little old me say? Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That would make me feel so much more comfortable. So I didn't do the research on how to do mediation and settlement agreement. I relied on the attorney. When I tell you that is the worst thing I could have done, I had to at one point, I told the magistrate judge I was firing her. I was like, she is not representing my interests. This is over, right? But the other thing I discovered is when you are not an attorney and you go to mediation, they give you the opportunity to go and review after the mediation is over. If you have an attorney there, they said that's your review right there. Your attorney was right there. They explained everything to you. That's what I would do over. And so if you decide to go through this process, make sure when you're doing your EEOC complaint, all those questions I tell you in each chapter, I say, do you understand this? Are there any questions you have here? Because all of those things are building blocks for what you need to ask along the way when you do have access to an attorney as part of the EEOC complaint.
Right. It's a long and arduous process. And you have to be educated. You have to do your research. I was a pro se litigant as well. In a custody case, though, so a little bit different. But the research, the outright blatant lies that people can come with, and so I understand that part. It can be very arduous and just you want to give up, and that's something that you talked about. Like you emphasized that people have the option to continue the process or stop along the way. But my question to you is, why is honoring your own pace in a legal matter so important?
It's important to you as an individual. So one of my strong beliefs is that we cannot acquiesce to fear. When I think about what these employers do, they bully us. And if you are allowing a person like an employer to bully you, you are open to somebody else bullying you. And the reason is you allow that spirit, I'm going to call it a spirit, to come in and put doubt in yourselves about whether or not you are worthy of what you're saying you're worthy of. And if we don't first believe in ourselves that we are worthy, then who else is going to believe it? So, one of the other quotes I have in the book is that when there is no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot hurt us. That's an African proverb.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that mean? We got to get ourselves right, get rid of those things that are causing us to doubt ourselves and not be all that we can be. Because as soon as we let somebody in and give them control and power, we lose our own power.
Mm-hmm.
And then to regain that power back is not very easy. Because imagine you done given somebody all your power and you say, no, 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 I want that back. And they're
Right.
going to be like, wait a minute. I like how this was working. Why don't we keep it as it is? So
Right.
the more we stand up for ourselves, even if we don't all the time win, the more we know that we did the best that we could instead of sulking over it or thinking, oh, I wish I could have, woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? And you can't go back and undo anything, right? So either you got to let it go and say, is water over under the bridge? Or that thing is going to haunt you forever.
Right. Right. So it's almost like a paraphrase definition of self advocacy.
Yep.
When there is no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot hurt you, and that's so powerful. It really is. You also said, unchecked spirits get stronger, and that's both internal and external. But how does self awareness kind of protect us when advocating for ourselves?
Oh my goodness. So if you think about doubt of anything that you've done and you think that you are not worthy of something, right? The way that you are going to manifest that is that you're going to be accepting of a whole lot of other things that people do to you. So this book is about people having self-reflection as well, right? So one of the things I ask people to think about is if you're having a conversation with somebody and something don't real feel right, right? They saying something, you're like, that don't seem like that's me. But then instead of you saying, wait a minute, I don't think you're properly representing me, and you accept that because we are so concerned about everybody else. And I tell everybody, you matter too. Matter of fact, you matter more than anything, especially when you have kids. And the reason is if you're not good, your kids aren't good.
Mm,
No matter how we try and mask it, they are going to feel that something is wrong. So by the time you look at self doubt, by the time you look at other things you may be doing to mask how you're feeling, whether or not that's drinking drugs, whatever, right? Any of those vices that help you mask what else is going on with you, it means that you are not coming into a completeness of who you are destined to be. Every one of us has a goal of what we were put on this earth for. And so my brand is called It's My Journey. Every one of us has a journey. And the question is, are you continuing along your journey? Have you been distracted? Have somebody just made you stop and you aren't pursuing it anymore? Bottom line is finish your journey. And the definition of a journey is going from one place to another. No time frame. As long as you meet that end goal, you have achieved your journey.
absolutely, I love that. Um, what do you hope people will feel after reading this book, especially those who are walking into the courtroom alone.
What I hope that they will feel is that it's not impossible. So, regardless of what the odds may say, there's more people that have done pro se litigation than we even know about. I didn't know about you. There were two people at my event yesterday I didn't know went through it. And so, what happens is, and I also mentioned the book, The Art of War. Um, and that's a whole nother thing we can talk about because it talks about military strategy, it talks about strategies for life. And one of the things that it mentions is about people thinking that something is a weakness that's really a strength, right? So when you go in as a pro se litigant, anybody thinking about it, they don't know you have this book. And this book has told you what to be prepared for and what they're going to do. And when they do it and you don't look shocked and you don't lose your temper because they doing stuff to get a reaction. So if you know that this is what they're going to do, you're going to be even more prepared than what you were when you didn't know. So think how many times we know something's going to happen and we handle it different than something that's coming as a surprise. If we are properly prepared to say, I know they're going to try and do this, and I can't lose my cool in that courtroom, right? I can't lose my cool with that attorney because they pick at you, pick, until you lose your cool and you like, okay, I need a break. And you go and talk to yourself and you pace up and down the hall
Uh-huh.
and you say, this is not a good look for you because, especially in an employer situation, let's say they said, oh, she's an aggressive female, and you go off in the courtroom. You know that's not the truth. Da 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 da. They're gonna look at you and say, well, I can see how that goes along with what this employer is saying because all they're trying to do is attack your character,
Right.
right?
Yes. Yep.
And if we can make sure that we are intact, and even if we have to sit there with a stoic face, knowing that we burning up on the inside,
Hmm.
you get out that courtroom, you get in your car and you scream. I did it plenty of times.
Yes. Yes, me too. Me too. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was listening to another podcast recently, and the lady was talking about actually her journey representing herself as well. And she said something that she learned was that the courts are really not about truth, they're about proof and what you can prove. And I was thinking about that yesterday at your event. And just, it's all about what you can prove. And if you can't prove it, it's almost like it wasn't true.
Yep.
Um, and so I really love how you say that you need to document everything, because I worked in the federal government and they always told us if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist, even if you were there, you know. So I appreciate that about you, and encouraging everyone to write it down, take a picture, make a note of it, get the written proof that you need to be able to present it and say, here is what happened, and here is the receipt to prove it as well.
And
Uh,
even if you are not sure whether or not it's going to be beneficial, it's better for you to have it than not have it, right?
Absolutely.
So anything that looks, that didn't make me feel real good. Let me have a copy of that because you never know. Because let me tell you something, stuff disappears from the email service.
Yeah.
So even when you do a request for them to provide you information, see, I had documentation, right? Myself, full documentation, but I wanted to see what they were going to provide to me. So I made a request. I gave the date, I gave the time, I gave everything. When they gave me the information, it was partial. So It's one of those things that you have to show credibility. They trying to destroy yours. Make sure you start and have stuff that destroys theirs.
Absolutely, because they're not looking for you to come back and like you said, be as poised or be as ready. They're looking to tear you down, and almost make a fool or a mockery out of you on purpose. So we don't want to let that happen, and that's the importance of this book that she has written. And for those of you joining, for those of you who have been watching, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for supporting her tonight. As you may already know, scrolling across the bottom of the screen is telling you to go to the QR code in the corner of the screen. That's where you can scan the code with your phone. You can go and get a copy of this book. It's just because her story just happened to be with an employer. Some of these principles and practical tips in this book can help you, whatever your situation is. Now, yes, if you're specifically going through this with your employer, absolutely. I would implore you, it would behoove you to get a copy of this book. Um, just scan that QR code, grab a copy, and then come back and let us know that you grabbed a copy, and we'll shout you out in the comments. So, you wrote this book to be practical, right? So
Yes.
we want to have just a little bit of fun, like a quick rapid fire round. I'm going to give you some scenarios, and I just want you to give like a empowerment tip to these scenarios.
Okay.
So the first one is it's the first court date, nerves are high. What do you do?
Haha. You remember that you are here for a purpose and for yourself. So, one of the things that you want to do is make sure that you believe in you, right? I know why I'm here. I know what I'm doing. And I know that me pursuing this is justified. That's the very first thing you got to do is have belief in yourself. And guess what else? God didn't put you there for no reason. So if you are at this point, then you are prepared for whatever is going to come your way. So that's going to be the first thing is your self-confidence. And if you got somebody who's a pair partner, somebody who lifts up your spirit, you talk to them and you say, "Hey, I'm nervous about this. I need you to pray with me. I need you to give me strong for what I'm about to go into."
So, Tawanda, this paperwork feels confusing. I'm feeling overwhelmed. How do I avoid shutting down and not even pursuing this process at all?
So the good thing is you have people surrounding you that are not attorneys. It doesn't say that you can't use other people. It says that you cannot consult an attorney to help you do that.
That's good.
So in the book, I tell you about websites, I tell you about sources, resources. So you don't have to go do like I did. I did all this stuff from scratch because I didn't know where to go. But if you look at what other people have done, you are starting from a place where somebody's telling you what you need to do next. Go here. Here's a resource. So in the book, in addition to the chapter, you have questions and you have a resource section. And so you have to know that even if you're not good at that, maybe you have a friend that is, and say, "Hey, I need some information on this right here. Can you go and see if you find anything here?" The one challenge I will tell you is we often have a tendency when we're going through to keep everything to ourselves. Try and expand your circle of people you trust and say, "Hey, I need help here. Can you help me with this?" Being humble is part of building our character as well. We don't need to know everything. We just need to know we got somewhere to go and get it.
Absolutely. I love that. So I'm feeling intimidated. How do I stand firm through this process and not feel intimidated by the court system or the lawyers or the judge or, whatever is in front of me?
Oh, that's when you got to know about people who have won. So what happens is they want you to think you're the only one, and you're not. So a lot of times people will prey on what they think is a vulnerability that we have. But your documentation and you knowing that stuff front to back about what happened to you is something that is your belt of truth. You got that in your hip pocket of, oh, I know you said that, but I know this happened. And you have to remember, so put on your hat from the judge attorney side, right? They spent all this money in law school to get an education, right? And they gonna say, you gonna come in here and try and challenge me on what it is that I know. But what do you have? You have the truth of what happened in your experience. And so you weren't even tainted by some of the things that they do in law school to spin stuff around and attack people's character. You are standing on righteousness, and righteousness is going to win every time if you keep your composure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Don't
Mm-hmm.
let them win. Don't let them win. So if you read the book, The Art of War, it's going to tell you about all the strategies that they use to try and break you down, to make you intimidated, to make you think that you cannot win, to make you think that you are not qualified. You are qualified. You can do it because your heart has the passion for it. Everybody who's an attorney, we don't even know whether or not they graduated at the top of their class or at the bottom of their class. Just because they got an attorney doesn't mean a single thing.
Absolutely. My somebody, I don't remember if it was my mom or somebody, she was like, they don't know what grade you got. All they know is you got a diploma.
Exactly. And everybody has a diploma. Guess what? Regardless of if you were summa cum laude or you were thank you laude, it don't matter.
Oh, this is good. This is so good. These empowerment tips are good. So the last scenario is, Towanda, I feel like quitting. I don't want to do this no more. What do I need to remind myself of when I start feeling like that?
You have to remind yourself that you are worthy of being respected and treated properly. So, one of the things that we have to remember is if we don't respect ourselves, if we don't treat ourselves right, then nobody's going to treat us right. Right? So, it starts with self. What am I worthy of? And so, if you know that you are worthy of somebody respecting you properly and not being able to do anything that they think that they can do to you, then you're going to remember, wait a minute, why did I start this? One of the things I did was keep a statement for me to write that I could look at any time to remind myself of why I'm doing this. Because I'm going to tell you, you're going to have some doubts. When you up 24 hours and you saying, I ain't getting no sleep, I'm hungry, you know, why am I doing this again? Have that statement right there that reminds you
Right.
of why you're doing it, because we forget. Or have that friend or have that colleague, or if you have a spouse that's very supportive, have that person to remind you about why you embarked on this journey, right? And lastly, I would say this: if the experience is such that it is causing you physical harm, where you're having to go to the doctor because you got some things manifesting in your body, you then have to determine whether it's worth it. So in that book, you will see a map, right? At any time, you can get off that exit ramp. And guess what? Nobody can judge you because it's your journey.
Absolutely. You have to remember that it's your journey. So let's talk a little bit about the writing process, the writing journey. What was it like for you? Was it heavy? Was it healing? Was it painful? Was it purposeful? What was that process like for you?
This book and my writing was my healing. I had to get all of that out of me. So I mentioned in the book about a statement I talked to with my son, my oldest son. His name is Devin. At first, we were going to call this book Taking Them to the Mattresses. And it's from the Italian mafia quote that says, "You do me wrong, I'm going to come and get you." Right? But that was not the right vein for approaching this. Why? Because it shows me as an angry person, right?
Right.
And so we cannot pursue anything with the wrong mindset of we gonna get somebody back,
Right. Right.
right? We have to pursue with the mindset of I need to get it out of me onto something so I'm not thinking about it and processing it anymore. So this book allowed me to take what had happened to me, put it in words, and as my publisher, I probably had a slew of stuff in there because I was writing as I was going through the process, and another thing, and this, and that. And so you need a publisher like you that says, I hear what you're trying to say, but everything you're talking about is getting lost in the words.
Right.
So let's try and bring it home and get to the real root of what you're trying to say so people can understand it. So I was blessed with the fact that I had people that knew me because my personality is kind of strong and knew what I was trying to say. And when they knew I was trying to share my experience, and the advocacy part of me was saying, I don't want you to go through this. If you just stepped on a landmine and got your leg blown off, you don't want the next person to step on the same one. You want to take it for the team. So that was the advocacy part of me. And then the other part of me was the analyst part. This is what happened to me. This is what I need you to understand. But even if you don't believe everything I'm saying, here's some resources that help you cross validate what I'm saying to you in terms of helping you with where you need to go. So mine is like a recipe book at the same time as an autobiography, at the same time as a reference manual. And it was interesting. I finally went to court. So I told you guys 2020 is when when we separated ways. I didn't go to court to 2023. If I had been paying for an attorney, because when you secure an attorney, they don't care whether you win or lose. If I stayed with an attorney, because one of the things they like to do is postpone, ask for an extension. You paying an attorney for 3 years. By the time you go to court, they think you are so desperate that you're going to take whatever they offer. That's the other benefit of being a pro se is the very thing they thought was going to make you acquiesce is no longer something that can be held over your head. So all of that for me was a way of me helping other people to say, don't give up. I've done it. Here's a person that did it. I'm not a fictitious person. I can tell you what to do. I can tell you how I felt. I can tell you reality. Did I feel like quitting? Absolutely. Absolutely. But the more stubbornness in me to say, you are not going to do this to me and think you're going to get away with it is what I need to make sure that I stood on. And I feel like I was successful in it. This book came out. I'm able to talk to people about it. I'm able to give encouragement to say, don't not do your best, even if you're fearful about it. Try. And you never know. You might got resources that come your way to be able to assist you with your journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I remember a question that you got, and you were asked, is this something that you would be willing to help others with? And I already know your answer. And it's probably right now a resounding no. However, what I'm coming to understand about you, even now on the other side of the publishing process, is that you're an encourager. And so I think that is a lane that you can operate in, to be an encourager during those times, because you know exactly what it feels like. You know, even after the court date, the first court date, if they have more than one, and you walk out feeling so defeated. You know, so I think that that's more so, yeah, the lane you might want to be in.
You know, it is so funny that we think that we're going to do one thing and then God has a vision for us to do something else. So I'm never going to say no. But the reason I say that I wouldn't help somebody fight their court case is because I would be experiencing that all over again. And it is not something that I ever want to live again. But if somebody is feeling some kind of way and needs to have bounce off of somebody, talk to somebody and say, hey, I'm feeling like this. Did you feel like this? Absolutely. I'm willing to say, yep, this is normal. This is part of the process. Doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It means you're human. Because we all have that. And we need somebody who believes in us to say and tells us the truth, right?
Right.
So if you're operating on emotion and I'm looking at something and I'm saying, I don't know whether or not that really is what you think it is, you need that, because what the last thing I want is from somebody to say, I read your book and I followed these things and they threw it out because of this. Well, one of the first things I said is make sure you got your facts straight and you know how it ties to EEOC.
Right.
So we need to not operate on emotion, but we got to operate on fact, right? And it doesn't mean that there's no opportunity for growth, because it's always, unless you did, you growing every day, right?
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
yes, I wouldn't say it's hard for me for people to reach out to me and say, Towanda, can I ask you a question? And me say, no, absolutely not. It's never happened. I
Yeah.
may say, are you sure you want my answer?
That's the part that we need to be sure of. You know, I tell people, you can ask me anything. But just be prepared for whatever my answer is.
That's right.
You know, so you can ask anything, but do you want anything as an answer? So how do you hope your sons and future generations will see this book as a part of your legacy?
Oh, so last year when I turned 60, I did 6 decades of Towanda for my family and for my grandkids, my whole legacy. And it goes through my different decades in life and it talks about my different challenges, because oftentimes people see you where you are today and they don't know everything that you came through. My goal, and I do it with anybody that is in my circle, is to encourage you to stand up for yourself. Don't let people mistreat you. Know what you believe. Even my little 7-year-old grandson, it's like, make sure that you provide an opportunity to say, hey, can I tell you how I feel? Right? Because so many times we're suppressing how we feel so we make somebody else happy. And so, even with my kids, some people hear me with my conversation with my youngest son and they be like, wow, y'all got an interesting relationship. But if you don't express how you feel and you continue to hold it in because you're worried about everybody else, you are killing yourself slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And so anybody in my family knows I'm going to be like, look, what are you doing to make sure somebody don't treat you like that in the future? You know, I remember with both of my boys, I used to say, if something happened in school and you get bullied and you tell the school and they don't do anything about it, you need to make a stand for yourself. Because if you don't, whether or not you're in middle school, It's going to follow you all the way through high school, and they're going to continue the same behavior that they did in middle school. Why? Because you did not stand your ground. Find out how to stand. Stop those things from coming at you. Deal with yourself first about who you are, whose you are. Believe in yourself, and then all those things will be like darts bouncing off of you because you know who you are and nobody can penetrate that.
Now, what did you tell your boys when they told you that they wanted to quit something or they didn't want to do it
Oh,
anymore?
so quitting is not an option in my family, okay? My immediate family. So my oldest son got hit by a baseball. I had them in everything. You know how you say idle mind? They were in basketball, track, soccer. I had them busy. My son got hit with a baseball. Fast pitch. He's like, that's it. I want to quit. Oh, no, we don't quit. Until you get up there and hit that ball again, you will not be allowed to quit. So I made him play. He got up there and then hitting the ball again. I said, okay, you can quit now if you want to. He's like, no, I don't want to. Oh, my other one, my youngest. So I put him in swimming lessons because for me growing up, my mom was definitely afraid of the water. She almost drowned in the water. We never got to swim, right? Because my mom was afraid of the water. So my kids, I made sure I had swimming lessons. My youngest didn't want to dive into the deep end of the pool. His father was like, can't you see he's scared? Don't make him do it. I said, oh, he gonna dive in that pool today. He gonna jump off of that. He is a lifeguard today.
Wow.
So what that goes to tell you is that fear may be preventing you from something that may be your destiny later. As soon as we acquiesce to that fear, we open up so many opportunities for us not to pursue something because it was an open door for us at one time. Don't open that door. Fear come in, deal with it, close it, and don't let it take over.
I love that. Fear. Don't let it take over. Don't let it take over. So, Wanda, there are people watching tonight who feel small. They may feel unheard, overwhelmed with the system, and feel like it's too big for them. What final words of empowerment would you give them tonight, especially someone who may be going through this exact same process that you went through?
The encouragement that I will give to them is whatever you choose to do is what's best for you, right? If you want to move forward, I tell you, I don't know what else I could have put in that book to prepare you for what you need to do step by step. You can go back and reference it. You can go back and do little by little, but what it is meant to do is encourage you that it is possible. Don't let the overwhelming of it all stop you from pursuing to step one. Step by step, baby steps. Do the first part. And let me tell you what happens. When you do the first part and you are successful, you get more confidence for the second part. When you do the second part and you're successful, you get even more confidence. The hardest part is starting because you got doubt. Am I doing this? Am I wasting my time? Start and see how it goes. And then know nobody has the right to judge you if you decide you don't want to continue. But if you do decide to continue, everything that you need to know is in that book and you're not alone. Other people have done it successfully. Don't give up. Reach out. Y'all have our information. You'll be able to get in touch with me. There's other people who have gone through the journey I didn't even know. Maybe we need to put together a little focus group. I'm not sure. Um, But I feel like I've met more people than I knew that went through the pro se journey. And maybe we need to do something to encourage others, that they put a question out that says, I'm feeling like this. What do you think I should do next? Kind of thing. Maybe that's part of what this is an encouragement. Don't sell yourself short. That's what I would tell anybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's your next step, is to create that community where you can have that support system, even for those times when you feel, when you know what, if it's not for any other reason, it's for when you feel the fear, to have that support group and that community of people to say no, keep pressing forward, keep pressing
Yep.
forward. So
And the thing, Lakeisha, is fear of anything. So I know my book is called Empowering Pro Se Litigants, but it really is about life, right? Even if it's not about you going and fighting somebody in court, but it's about a friendship that you have that you think is unhealthy, and establishing boundaries. Even if it's that,
mhm,
something so simple as stand up for yourself. And it doesn't even mean you have to confront the person. It means you might have quietly let them go. So I want people to think it's way beyond this book of being a pro se litigant.
right.
It's about taking care of yourself as a person.
Absolutely. It's about self-advocacy, self-awareness, being fearless, having confidence, no doubt, no, it's about all of those things. So you're absolutely right. So that's even more reason for you all to support this important work. This is Tawanda's story. She was there for the whole thing, and she has now shared it with you all. Not just, like she said, for people going through this process, but there are so many nuggets in this book that you can apply to different situations in your life. And so, like I said before, if you scan the QR code in the corner of the screen, it'll take you straight to her website. You'll be able to purchase a copy of the book. You'll be able to see her other brand, Unchecked Spirits. Um, I'm sorry, I said that incorrectly, didn't I? Um,
Unchecked spirits get stronger.
Check get stronger. You will be able to support that brand as well. Check out some merchandise that she has. She has journals, she has tumblers, and a lot of great stuff for that brand as well. And then you can learn a little bit more about her if you want to email her or reach out to her, maybe to come and do a workshop or something. Who knows where God is about to take her, but He's taking her somewhere indeed. So, Tawanda, thank you so much for using your voice to help others to reclaim theirs, because really that's what this book is about. Your courage. And now, this book, I know, is going to empower countless people to stand strong in their truth, and to stand up for themselves. So, I really appreciate you for being on the podcast tonight.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Lakeisha. And I am so grateful for you stepping in and helping me bring this to fruition, because I wasn't sure for a minute there. So thank you for believing in me and taking me on to help me
Absolutely.
bring this to conclusion.
Absolutely. You are so welcome. It's been a pleasure working with you. If you just hang out in the back room for us, I will close out the podcast.
Okay.
Thank you so much once again for being on tonight.
Thank you.
All right, family. Make sure that you are subscribed to the VTF Collective on YouTube so you never miss an episode of Behind the Pen. And if you have a story that you know the world needs to hear, you can sign up to be featured on the podcast. Along the bottom of the screen is our website. It's the VTFcollective.com. You can just click on Behind the Pen. You'll see how to sign up there to be on the podcast. Until next time, stay empowered, stay encouraged, and remember your voice has power. This is the Behind the Pen podcast. I am your host, Coach Keisha, and I'm wishing you a good night. Until next time.